Good morning. Happy Tuesday. This is O'Brien reporting for class. Today we are going to read the story Just Like Home by Mathangi Subramanian. And there are going to be some words in here that you're not used to hearing. In fact, the one in particular that I'm thinking of is the word Rangoli. And when we talk about it, when that word comes up, I actually think I figured out a new trick where I'm going to now be able to show you pictures while I'm reading to you. So, be patient with me as I figure out how to get faster with this, but this is going to be like my first time trying it, so let's see how it goes. Ready? Just like home. When the recess bell rang, Priya sighed and slowly hung up her smock. You know, that's that thing that you wear when you go to art class. You don't get paint all over your clothes. At her old school, she spent recess climbing the monkey bars and sharing secrets with her friends. Now, she sat in the corner of the field and watched the other kids play without her. The only thing Priya liked about her new school was art. They hadn't had art at her old school, but here art was a whole hour. The studio had the most wonderful things, like aluminum pie tins, plaster of Paris, and India ink. During art, Priya forgot that she didn't have any friends at her new school, and all she thought about was whatever it was that she was working on. As she cleared her table, Priya noticed a box of sidewalk chalk sitting on the counter by the window. She grabbed and stuffed it in her pockets. Then she took her usual place at the end of the recess line. While she and her classmates filed through the halls and out into the yard, Priya thought about how she and her mother used to draw chalk patterns on the long driveway leading up to their old apartment building. The patterns were called Rangoli, and they looked like stars and roses. So what I'm going to show you here, this is example of Rangoli. Priya's mother said that the drawings were to welcome guests to their home. All the families in India, where Priya's family was from, did Rangoli every morning, just like Priya and her mother. Their new apartment had barely any sidewalk in front of it, and there was no room for Rangoli. Priya missed the early mornings she and her mother would spend drawing feathery, colorful patterns on the cement. Priya walked over to the basketball court and sat on the hot pavement. She was glad to have something to do besides sit in her corner. She pulled the box out of her pocket and took out a bright red piece of chalk and began drawing the Rangoli patterns she loved best. She drew flowers with huge swirling petals and stars with 8 points. She colored them green, yellow, and blue, all colors that her mother had used. She liked the soft, solid feeling of the chalk in her hand and the way that the dust left patterns on her fingers. "That's pretty," a voice said. She turned around and saw that Enrique, a boy in her class, was watching her. "It's called Rangoli," she said. "They do this in India, where my parents are from." "You know what that reminds me of?" he asked, kneeling down beside her. "The floor of my grandmother's house in Mexico has tiles that have designs like that." "Just like this, what you're looking at." "What do you mean?" Priya asked. "Hand me a piece of chalk," Enrique said. "I'll show you." Enrique sat down on the pavement and began to draw. He used green, orange, and yellow chalk to draw flowers that were more detailed than Priya's, but still had huge, curvy petals. Then he drew circles inside circles and surrounded them with small diamonds. Priya kept drawing too, in between and around Enrique's designs. What are you guys doing?" a voice asked. Priya and Enrique had been so absorbed in drawing that they hadn't noticed that their classmate Farah had been watching them. "Hey," Farah said, sitting down beside them. That looks like the rugs in my uncle's house in Iran. Just like this. Except on the rugs, the shapes are bigger and aren't as curly. Show us, said Enrique, handing her a piece of chalk. Farah took the chalk and began drawing. She drew shapes that were full of straight lines and bold colors. They were bigger than the shapes Priya and Enrique had drawn, and they had overlapped each other in diagonals to form new shapes. She colored the drawings purple, dark blue, and white. Wow, Miss Lopez, Priya's teacher said. That's beautiful. Priya, Enrique, and Farah stood up and looked at what they had done. The pavement was covered in bright colors and shapes. Triangles, circles, squares, diamonds, all mixed together. Their classmates began to drift over to see what was happening. It looks like a universe with lots of planets and stars, said Lily. It looks like a coral reef full of tropical fish, said Jasper. What do you think it looks like, Priya? Said Enrique. Priya looked at Enrique and Farah. Their knees, elbows, and fingers were covered in red, yellow, green, and blue chalk dust. Priya smiled and said, It looks like home. Oh, what a great ending.